My role as an innovation connector is all about matchmaking, accelerate innovation and to scale the impact. Sustainability is one of our main focuses of the port itself. I envision the Port of Rotterdam as a global benchmark of what a sustainable and smart port can be.
We do a lot of this in collaboration with the government and with the municipality. The next 10 years are really critical to see if change can really happen and can be accelerated in the port.
Welcome back to another episode of the Startup Passport by Econsulate. Today we are joined by Jart van Lent and by Noor Abrahamse from the Port of Rotterdam. Thank you very much for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
You're an innovation connector at the Port of Rotterdam. The Port of Rotterdam is the biggest one in Europe. So what is your role in there?
Well, my role as an innovation connector is all about matchmaking. And my geographical scope within the Port of Rotterdam is the Rotterdam Makers District. So that's the closest part of the port to the city, which is a innovation hub for maritime and offshore, for the maritime and offshore industry. And I work there to connect the different skill-ups, startups, businesses, organizations, educational institutions to accelerate innovation and to scale the impact.
And it's such a big corporation or organization as the port is. How much room is there for innovation in such a big environment?
Well, it's quite a complex environment, but innovation is made possible through experimentation and collaboration. Think of pilot projects or living labs that allow for testing without disrupting the day-to-day operations. So, for example, we have vertipods, which are drone ports located at RDM and M4H, and these are operational test sites for drone technology. And drones can be used for inspection as well as incident responses in the port. So it's very interesting technology to use. But we have these vertiports in order to test what is possible and also to see what the opportunities are to create a corridor, because now they can fly across the Maas River, which is not always the case, and it's usually restricted due to the traffic and the proximity of an airport. So by having a controlled approach in experimentation, we are able to test safe and effectively, even in quite the complex environment of the port.
Are you then also, let's say, for example, the example with the drones, that it's not always possible to test those things to maybe an extent that the port would like? Mm-hmm. Is then also a relationship to the government or to the city of Rotterdam important with that?
Definitely, we work together with a lot of people, especially the municipality and the government, because we have quite of a connecting role within the Port of Rotterdam. So we try to find the different expertises, but also the resources, and we work together with the municipality for law and regulations and being able to do such testing in this environment.
And to put the full ecosystem on scope, so especially being the largest one, the largest port in Rotterdam for maybe recent innovations. Mm-hmm. You already talked about the drones. Is there anything else that comes to mind where you were like, oh, maybe within the last 5-10 years, this is something that has really changed from an innovation perspective?
Well, we focus on many different themes. So, of course, we have all these complex challenges we are facing right now. So the energy transition, the shift towards circular economy. So we look at hydrogen as well as new mobility, so the drones, but also digitalization. So there are different things that are that we are focusing on within the innovation ecosystem of Rotterdam Maker District. Yeah.
And how much does the port also innovate in terms of sustainability? Is that anything that the port also tries to take care of in that sense?
So sustainability is one of our main focuses of the port itself. So what we try to do is make this kind of the engine for sustainable transition within the port, as well for the talent that is needed to make this sustainability shift. So we also look at attracting and retaining the talent and having the knowledge to be able to make those kind of shifts for the energy transitions and the circular economy.
And a little bit of a long shot from the position that you are in right now in the port and with the field that you're working in. If you had an ideal scenario, how would you envision that to look like in 10 years' time if everything would go as you would like it yourself, let's say?
So that's 2035. I envision the Port of Rotterdam as a global benchmark of what a sustainable and smart port can be. And in 10 years from now, I hope the Rotterdam Maker District is a vibrant, fully integrated part of the city of Rotterdam, and also the leading innovation hub for maritime and offshore industry. And so driving technological innovation as well as being this engine for talent that is necessary to make innovations into real world solutions. So I hope it's a place for innovation as well as for people to enjoy and experience what the port can be.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
No, much appreciated. Noor, you're the business manager at the Port of Rotterdam. And when people think about the port, especially the biggest one in Europe, they think a lot about big cargo ships, big vessels, which is not necessarily sustainable in their heads immediately. But then when you look closer, you see a lot of initiatives that the port is also already doing for that. Can you let us in on that a little bit?
Indeed. Well, the Port of Rotterdam is indeed very polluting because, of course, you have a lot of industry and a lot of transport going through it. But also with the Port of Rotterdam, we're really trying to be a front runner in the energy transition and like an accelerator of sustainability. That's also why we have set certain goals for CO2 reduction. So we want to be net zero in 2050. But we also have set like midterm targets for 2030. And we have full-time teams working on those problems. So for example, for the logistics part that you just mentioned, we have a full team working on that, looking at what kind of green bunker fuels there are for seagoing vessels to the port, looking at shore power when vessels are in the port, and also looking at, for example, converting inland barge ships on how they can use green fuels. So a lot of initiatives are already going on in the port.
Now, how's it looking with the midterm goals right now? I feel like also in especially in politics, they like people also set goals often, but it's also sometimes, and I would imagine maybe the same for such a big corporation, it's hard to actually keep track of the goals. Do you have an overview of how this is going roughly?
So we are really trying to indeed have an outlook on that goal, and we are reporting on it every year. But indeed, it is pretty difficult because we have set that goal for the whole port area, not just for our own company, but also for all the companies within the port with their emissions. So we're also very dependent on how other companies in the ports are doing. But also what you just said with rules, regulatory framework from the government is also really helping. For example, the coal-fired plants are having to close in 2025 or 2030. So these emissions are also getting reduced by 2030. So that's also already helpful.
And when you're working on those goals, are you rather working with big corporates, big players already in the sector, or do you actively try to getting younger companies with maybe new ideas, new technology?
Yeah, actually, as a Port of Rotterdam, we're trying to really combine these two worlds because the big goal of the port is being the smartest port. And we're trying to do that by being like safe, sustainable, and efficient. And to achieve those three focus areas, we really need all innovations. So we're looking also at the big companies, but also especially at startups, which are more focused on specific parts in the value chain, and also have a more creative mindset and like a willingness to experiment, and trying to combine that with the power of a big company that is already situated in the port. So we see ourselves as a bit of a matchmaker there, with already initiatives we have at the port, like a Port Excel accelerator program or platforms in the port, which you are probably already mentioned, where you can have your innovation in practice already in the port.
And then you're also making use, or are you also making use of other stakeholders such as municipalities, governments, especially when it comes to the sustainability aspects of it? Because a government can regulate, but sometimes regulations might also help to keep track of certain goals.
Yeah, we do a lot of this in collaboration with the government and with the municipality. So, for example, for shore power, a joint venture was started also with the municipality. So we're really looking at that together and trying to also show the government that a good regulative framework is really needed, also for the companies to become more sustainable, also in an economic way.
And maybe not totally focusing on the goals that you mentioned, but maybe also a little bit from a personal perspective. How would you envision? It's a pretty big question, but how would you envision the port in 10 years? Let's say. Do you already expect any major changes or any technologies that are advancing?
In 10 years, yeah, I always think that 10 years sounds like a very long time, but actually with all these transitions going on, I think that 10 years is actually quite a short time. But I do think the next 10 years are really critical to see if change can really happen and can be accelerated in the port. So I hope that in 2035, like CO2 emissions can be reduced significantly, and we have a change to other renewable energies like hydrogen and offshore wind, and being like a front runner also in circularity and using digital tools to be more efficient and optimizing change. But yeah, I don't think 10 years is enough to make like the full transition workable, but it is enough to really make like a fundamental change in the direction that we are going.
And in any case, that will be very interesting to follow. So thank you, both of you, very much for joining and giving these insights on the Port of Rotterdam.
Of course. Thank you.